stuff. So before we move into the new stuff, we did a couple segments last week about how now that Kamala Harris is she's actually got enough delegates now, so she's gonna be the Democratic nominee for president. She's also raised a record amount of money, just historically, over everybody else. She's got the record now. She's raised like $310 million in less than 2 weeks? Just a ton of cash. And almost all of it small dollar donors. And a lot of it's people that have never donated before. So that means a lot of excitement. So we were talking about, the Republicans don't have much to hit her on. They're always going to go back to the one thing they do the most: racism and sexism, prejudice, right? And that's what they did. And we made jokes about it, and we were showing some of them talking about her being a DEI hire and all this crap. And we were talking about the DEI doesn't mean what they think it means, but okay. Well, we got some comments from you guys, and I picked a couple of them out I wanted to share because they were really racist comments, and I didn't understand them at first, but we figured it out. It took us a little while, but we figured out what these people were talking about. But I wanted to just, so we can set a pin in this for everybody, the quick definition here of racism, so we can all be in agreement. So racism is an adjective, and it's characterized by or showing prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is minority. Okay, so we had this guy, Big Dog, commented, Kamala's dad may have been from Jamaica, but his race was Irish and Indian. She never claimed to be black until she ran for president, before she claimed she was Indo-Asian American. So I didn't understand that at first. What does he say? She's not black? That was just weird to me. I mean, you can look at her, she's black. And in fact, I'll show you guys this. Here's a picture of Kamala and her father. Yeah, they're black. I mean...
So can we just stop and call out the racism in the fact that her race is even being called into question? Because the truth is, I don't think I've ever had anybody try to tell me that I am not Scandinavian. I've never had anybody be like, Alacias, you are in fact not Norwegian. You are not a Scandinavian.
Right.
20 minutes ago, you were just saying oh, I'm European, and now oh, suddenly you're Scandinavian.
Right.
Can we just stop and pause on that? Have you ever had anybody inform you were not of your race?
Me? Oh, yeah.
That you claim?
Oh, all the time. I'm mixed. This is common.
So... we apparently do not believe non-white people about their race, but white people can say that they are any race they want to, and it's fine.
Yeah, I get that from comments. I had a guy's like, "Oh, you're not a mix." Okay, my father's not Japanese.
What award do people think you're winning for pretending to be partially Asian? What award are you getting for that?
I don't know. I can tell you that it's just in business and in sociology they call it code switching, which is common with mixed kids or people that grew up in different classes. You'd spend one summer with mom, and mom had a lot of money, and you spend one summer with dad, and dad was really poor. And then they can speak both dialects real well. They can jump back and forth real well. They know the cultures, and it's not like it's you're being a phony. It's just you grew up with both. So you know both. So you know when to use which one. Right? It's I use different table manners if I'm, eating with, in a formal dinner than if we're just, hanging out.
Right. If we're just, at a fast food place, grabbing some sort of, dine-in situation, it's different than if, we're at tea time with,
Right.
sort of the etiquette that goes with that.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're fake in either scenario, but your Taco Bell burrito requires something different of you than tea time,
Yeah.
you know?
But that's what I got, is they think she's faking it. Which is funny to me because I know who, I don't know him personally, but I know of him, her father, Donald Harris. Um, he's an economist. He's a professor emeritus at Stanford. So he's a fairly well-known economist. So I thought that was weird that it's like, oh, she's not black. I'm like, really? Her father is a famous black economist. I mean, I don't expect the average person to know that, but I work, I'm a finance professor, so of course I know that. But I wanted to go through a couple of these. Here's one. I can't pronounce this, but this person's URL name. Let's see. I won't undo what Martin Luther King Jr. fought for. Judge someone on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And the content of her character is flawed, and she's not black. So first off, if you use the content of your character, not the color of your skin line from MLK, from his big famous speech, I already know you're probably racist. Because you've never heard or read anything else he said or written. Because if you did, you would know that he walked that back later on, saying he regretted saying that, because that's what racists started using. Oh, we're not being racist, we're just judging them on the content of their character. See, black people tend to be poor because they're lazy. That's the content of their character, it's not racial.
Right.
Right? Black people are more likely to get arrested because they're all criminals. That's not because of systemic racism, that's just a character thing that all black people have. And so that's what they did. They started to use that as an excuse. And so he regretted saying that. So if you're pulling that one out, I already know you're racist. And then if you end it with, and she's not black, I know you're a racist. But we're getting somewhere. We were like, okay, what is this she's not black shit? It doesn't make any sense. But Lacey kind of hit it. They're trying to say she's a phony. That she's only black when she wants to be. I get that all the time. You're only Asian when it suits you. And I'm like, yeah, except for the fact that I'm always Asian.
Right. I wake up as a white female every single day of my life. I'm not only female when it suits me, and I'm not only white when it suits me. I literally just wake up being that, white, all the days.
Then I had another one here. I have one more. What about her border control policies, her justice record, i.e. the topics Tulsi Gabbard debated her on? Well, first off, Tulsi Gabbard, you want to talk about somebody who pretended to be a liberal Democrat but is really a right-wing conservative. She pretended to be a liberal Democrat to get elected in Hawaii and then flipped on everybody. So you want to talk about a phony. On top of that fact, her border control policies, I don't know what her border control policies, she was for the bill, Lankford's bill, and Lankford is a far right-leaning Republican. And he pushed that bill recently, and they were going to add more border control. They were going to try and clamp down at the border, reduce the number of immigrants coming across. I mean, it was pretty draconian bill. And the Democrats were behind it, and Biden pushed it, and Kamala supported it, and then all the Republicans flipped and voted against it, even though it was everything they wanted. Why? Because Trump told him to, because he doesn't want the border fixed, because he wants to run on it. So that's, her border policy is actually better, is more right-wing than Trump's. Because Trump doesn't want to fix the border. Right? So yeah, I don't agree with her border control policy, but I'm on the left. Right? I think it's too draconian. But if you're on the right, you should freaking love her border policy. Her justice record. Another thing, on the left, I don't particularly like. I think she convicted too many people of petty drug crimes when she was a prosecutor. And she hit that really hard. And I think that was unnecessary. I don't know. I'm sure she's evolved some on that issue now. But, still, not as a leftist, not thrilled about that. But, if you want to talk about that versus Trump, who wants to let insurrectionists pardon him, I mean, I gotta go with Kamala here.
Well,
I mean, So,
if we're going to hold these two things up against each other.
but then this person goes on to say, to be honest, I don't know enough about her. Okay, so we're criticizing her policies, but you don't know what they are. Okay, that's a start. But one of the biggest problems is that Biden introduced her as a DEI hire. No, he introduced her as the first black and Asian woman to be a vice president. That was historic. It's like Trump was the first president to never hold government office. It's historic. So the thing about Kamala being a DEI hire is, yeah, Biden wanted a female, he wanted a minority female because he wanted to get those votes. Right? Just like Barack Obama needed Biden because he needed a white guy who was a little bit more moderate conservative to balance it out, to get those votes in the election. Just like Trump, whose whole base is predominantly, white people who are generally racist and sexist, he's got to pick a white guy. Trump is not going to pick a woman or a minority. He's just not going to do that. So when you talk about DEI hire, we'll get more into it. When we talk about it, we're talking about picking the right person for the job. And sometimes that is based on their ethnicity, sometimes it's based on their past experience. I gave the whole example. If I want to market to, Latino men under the age of 40, I should probably hire some Latino men under the age of 40. Right? Because they're going to know that market better than I am. It's just how it goes.
Right.
That's what DEI, when they talk about it, it's about hiring the person that's most qualified for that job outside of your previous biases and expectations. Right? So that's all that means. But she goes on to, or he goes on to say, why did the Democrats just put her in as a VP without even mentioning her race and sex? Because they wanted the votes that came with her. Right? So Democrats made it about her race and sex, and now the tables are turned. Well, not really, because we were all aware of that. You guys are the ones that made it about a racial issue. We made it about, she's a minority woman, so she understands those issues. We can reach out to those voters now. You're making it as about, well, she's not really black, and because she's black, she's not qualified. That's the problem here. That's the argument you're making, is that she only got the job because she was black. Not because she was a prosecutor, not because she was a senator, not because she's got 20 years in politics. No. It was just because she was black or a woman. Because I got to qualify. If you're talking about experience, Kamala has more experience in government, in civil service, than Trump and J.D. Vance combined. So,
Talk about that. They're too busy worrying about whether or not she's black, which sounds insane to me, by the way. But yeah, that's what they're learning.
Yeah, it's bizarre shit. But I was.